Welcome to this comprehensive deep dive into Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, a timeless guide to personal philosophy, resilience, and self-mastery. In this video, we'll walk step by step through every chapter of the book, unpacking Marcus's thoughts with direct quotes, thorough commentary, and modern examples. We'll go far beyond the surface to explore his ideas from multiple angles, making them accessible and relevant, whether you're new to philosophy or seeking deeper insight. Let's begin our journey with Book 1, the first section of Marcus Aurelius's meditation on what it means to live well. Book 1. Marcus's gratitude and lessons received. Marcus Aurelius opens Meditations with a series of acknowledgments, expressing gratitude for the people who have shaped his character and his approach to life. This first book reads almost like an intimate letter, a collection of lessons he's learned from mentors, family, and friends. Before Marcus lays out philosophical principles, he lays the foundation. What we learn and who we learn from matters deeply. Let's take a closer look, section by section, at this opening chapter. From my grandfather Verus, I learned good morals and the government of my temper. Marcus begins with his grandfather Verus. He doesn't elaborate on specific practices. He simply states that Verus exemplified good morals and the ability to govern his temper. From this, we see Marcus's value for restraint and ethical integrity. Notice how he begins with gratitude and models the Stoic emphasis on character over circumstance. Expanding on good morals, Marcus's use of the phrase isn't about following rules, rather it's a set of habits, decency, fairness, and consideration that form a person's foundation. The government of temper is crucial in Stoic philosophy, to act with reason, not flaring passion. Marcus often returns to the idea that anger and impulsiveness are impediments to wisdom. This subtle opening points to a lifelong project. Even for an emperor, controlling one's anger, responding with reason rather than impulse, is not just a moral duty but a practical necessity. As we move through Meditations, notice how Marcus returns again and again to this lesson. From the reputation and memory of my father, modesty and a manly character. Here, Marcus references his father's reputation and memory, a reminder that we can learn both from lived examples and the way a person is remembered. Modesty and a manly character mean humility alongside strength. For Marcus, reputation is not about vanity, but about the quiet power of virtues passed down. He isn't placing himself above others, rather he seeks to emulate their best traits. Stoicism teaches that we shouldn't be swayed by praise or criticism, but Marcus acknowledges that good examples, alive or departed, are formative. Modesty tempers pride, while manly character, in ancient Roman terms, connotes courage, integrity, and self-control. From my mother, piety and beneficence, and abstinence not only from evil deeds, but even from evil thoughts, and further, simplicity in my way of living, far removed from the habits of the rich. From his mother, Marcus learned piety, a devotion to duty, not just religious ritual, and beneficence, goodwill and kindness. He adds the remarkable commitment to avoiding not just bad actions, but even bad thoughts. This is a philosophical pivot. Marcus introduces the idea that virtue begins in the mind. Simplicity is another pillar. He values living simply, not chasing luxury, even though he was surrounded by wealth. Let's break down simplicity in my way of living, far removed from the habits of the rich. Marcus's embrace of frugal living is radical, given his circumstances as Emperor of Rome. Stoicism often praises living in accordance with nature and prioritizes basic needs over extravagance. Today, this might mean valuing experiences over possessions, or remaining grounded regardless of social status, a principle highly relevant in modern discussions of minimalism, mindfulness, and conscious consumption. From my great-grandfather, not to attend public schools but to have good teachers at home, and to recognize that such things are worth paying for. Marcus's reflection on education underscores that learning is best done under the guidance of those committed to your development. The emphasis isn't on prestige but on personal instruction and character building. Today we might interpret this as a reminder to seek out mentors, coaches, or small group learning, instead of relying solely on conventional schooling. In Stoic thought, Practical wisdom is gained through lived experience and personal relationships, not abstract theory. From my tutor. Throughout. Book 1. Marcus lists lessons learned from various tutors and teachers. These range from being introduced to philosophy and learning endurance to cultivating patience and equanimity. He writes not to contradict anybody, nor to censure anyone for speaking ill of me, nor to show a display of learning. This highlights humility and restraint, core Stoic virtues, rather than seeking dominance in conversation or correcting others for the sake of ego. Marcus advises listening, tolerating criticism, and avoiding arrogance. For non-scholarly audiences, this offers a powerful interpersonal lesson. If someone speaks ill of you, don't return the insult. Avoid showing off. In today's world of online debates and social interaction, the urge to correct others or display knowledge can be overwhelming. Marcus's advice raises the question, are we responding to others out of ego or out of a desire for mutual understanding? The Stoic project is always to cultivate the latter. He continues with more lessons, from Diognetus not to busy myself about trifling things, and not to give heed to what was said by miracle mongers and jugglers. Marcus cautions against getting caught up in trivia, superstition, and spectacle. This extends to avoiding distractions and resisting the lure of the extraordinary when it is divorced from the rationale. In our age, this advice could mean turning away from gossip, sensationalism, and distractions for more meaningful pursuits. The Stoic ideal is to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, rather than chasing after miracles or fleeting entertainment. Marcus's mention of miracle mongers and jugglers serves as a reminder to remain skeptical of claims that lack substance. From Rusticus, I received the impression that my character needed improvement and discipline. This quote is pivotal. Marcus, though emperor, confesses his character is a work in progress. Rusticus, his Stoic teacher, prompts him to acknowledge his flaws, an act of humility and self-awareness. Marcus lists further lessons. He taught me not to be led astray to sophistic emulation, nor writing on speculative matters, nor delivering hortatory orations, nor showing myself off as a man who practices much discipline or does acts of benevolence. Rusticus warns against pretentiousness and intellectual vanity. Marcus is learning not to perform virtue but to live it. In philosophy circles, this difference between signaling and genuine practice is still debated. Stoicism insists virtue is for living, not for show. Imagine a person who gives to charity simply for applause versus someone who quietly helps others. For Marcus, ostentation is empty. Authentic kindness doesn't advertise itself. He continues, from Apollonius, true freedom, that one should not be offended by criticism or failure, nor to desire things beyond one's means. This lesson is crucial. Freedom in Stoicism is defined by mastery over desire and reaction, not by status or wealth. If criticism or failure controls you, you are not free. If your desires exceed your means, you will always be restless. Real freedom is emotional autonomy. It's the ability to receive criticism calmly, face setbacks resiliently, and avoid envy or greed. Marcus's wisdom speaks powerfully to modern anxieties, social status, FOMO, and insecurity. Direct quote, call out. From Apollonius I learned freedom, and contentment with the decisions that come from reasoned deliberation. This ties directly into the Stoic exhortation to examine all choices with reason, not impulse. For Marcus, freedom means making deliberate choices and remaining content in them. Further lessons from Junius Rusticus. Marcus acknowledges Junius Rusticus repeatedly, noting, he made me aware of the need for improvement in my character. He made me read books carefully and not content myself with superficial understanding or quick review. Here Marcus embodies intellectual humility, a willingness to go deep, to investigate and question, rather than skim or blindly accept. Readers today are reminded, slow and careful reading leads to deeper understanding, not just of texts, but of life itself. Why does Marcus stress depth over speed? In the information-rich age we inhabit, it's easy to consume most things rapidly and superficially. Marcus's call to slow down, reflect, and seek understanding is more relevant than ever. Stoicism asks us not to chase after novelty, but to cultivate lasting wisdom. From Maximus, the lesson of cheerful leadership. Marcus writes, "From Maximus, self-control and constant cheerfulness, and not to become angry or impatient with circumstances." Maximus models calm, positivity, and composure. That cheerfulness here doesn't mean naivety. It's a practiced habit of gratitude and optimism in adversity. Self-control and patience are again emphasized. Cultivate a cheerful disposition, especially when faced with difficulties. Marcus shows that leadership isn't just authority, it's the ability to steady yourself, and in doing so steady those around you. Imagine a leader facing an unforeseen crisis. Rather than panic, they respond with measured optimism and creative problem-solving. Marcus's praise for Maximus is a blueprint for such resilience. From Severus, love of family, truthfulness, and justice. Marcus attributes to Severus an unwavering sense of justice and affection for family. Truthfulness, veracity, and justice, fairness, impartiality, are pillars of Stoic and Roman values. In a world with competing loyalties and biases, Marcus's advice holds up. Maintain family bonds, tell the truth, and hold fast to justice even when pressured otherwise. From Alexander the Grammarian, not to be fault-finding. Marcus learned to correct others kindly without harshness or ego. In daily life, this means giving constructive rather than destructive feedback, a lesson essential in workplaces, schools, and relationships. If a colleague makes an error, how do you address it? Marcus invites us to offer help without humiliation, to build up, not tear down. Book 1 of Meditations is more than a list of influences. It's a map of Marcus Aurelius's philosophical foundation. He demonstrates humility, the importance of mentorship, and gratitude for those who shaped his values. The key themes: self-control, modesty, emotional composure, authenticity, simplicity, and justice, run through the entire meditation. Marcus's opening message for readers is clear. We are made by what and who we attend to. Every lesson shapes us, but only if we reflect on it and embody it in practical ways. In the next section, we'll move deeper into Marcus's reflections on personal philosophy, what it means to live with reason, virtue, and tranquility. Book 2, Living in Accordance with Nature, the Stoic Mindset, begins. As we enter Book 2 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius shifts focus from gratitude for influences to the challenges and demands of daily life. This section is foundational. It contains some of the most quoted practical Stoic insights. Marcus addresses himself at the start of each day, preparing for adversity, irrationality, and the unpredictable nature of others. The central theme is learning to respond to the world not with frustration or despair, but with disciplined acceptance and purpose. Let us move step by step, unpacking Marcus's logic, language, and deeper meanings. When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. Right away, Marcus sets an honest and almost blunt expectation. He tells himself not to be surprised when the world presents challenge or negativity. But notice the proactive stance. Marcus isn't wallowing in cynicism or bitterness. Instead, he is arming himself with realistic expectations. Why begin with this? Stoicism emphasizes premeditation of evils, or premeditatio malorum, meaning that by anticipating difficulties, we can better respond with composure rather than shock or anger. Marcus's approach is deeply pragmatic. Expect imperfection and disappointment loses its sting. Marcus is not asking us to be cold or pessimistic, but to normalize setback and imperfection. Ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest. He names the failings, not to judge others, but to prepare himself to meet them without being thrown off balance. Imagine you're heading into a stressful job or facing a difficult family situation. Starting the day with a reality check, accepting that not everything will go your way, protects your mood and mindset. Frustration comes from expecting the world to behave as you wish. Composure comes from adapting to how the world actually is. But I have seen the nature of good, and it is what is right. Likewise the nature of evil, and it is what is wrong. Here Marcus defines the Stoic belief that good and evil are matters of character and choices, not external things or outcomes. The true measure of a person is in their ethical actions, not their circumstances. When he says, I have seen the nature of good, Marcus speaks from direct experience. Many self-help philosophies today claim that happiness comes from achievement or possession. Marcus insists that goodness is a matter of right action, virtue, and adherence to reason. Stoicism evaluates everything through the lens of virtue, the good use of reason, and vice, the abandonment of reason to impulse or fear, success or failure, pleasure or pain, status or poverty. These are indifference. What matters is what you do with life. No one can implicate me in ugliness, nor can I be angry with my relatives, nor hate them, for we were born to work together. Marcus reflects on the interconnectedness of people, how we are born to work together like our hands or feet. He draws a direct analogy between the human body's parts and social cooperation. To resist or fight others is to fight ourselves. Marcus views society as an organism, each person a cell or limb with a shared function. Stoicism posits that it is contrary to human nature to be at odds with others. Our very design is communal. Hatred and resentment are fundamentally self-defeating. If you hold a long grudge against a colleague, it is as if your right hand tries to injure your left. Both belong to the same body. Marcus highlights the logic and the necessity of cooperation, even with those whose actions are unkind. They are ignorant of good and evil. Marcus attributes people's flaws not to malice, but to ignorance. For the Stoic, most wrongdoing springs from a lack of philosophical understanding, not willful evil. Therefore, the proper response to the faults of others is not hatred, but patience and education. When someone cuts you off in traffic or lashes out with an insult, Marcus's advice is to recognize the limitation behind those actions. Responding with anger only multiplies suffering. Responding with understanding preserves your tranquility. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. This single sentence is at the core of Stoic philosophy. All disturbance arises from our judgments, not the external events themselves. We can learn to change our perspective, and in doing so, reduce our suffering. Marcus is teaching a practical psychology. When faced with insult, injury, or humiliation, pause and examine your internal judgment. Is the insult truly damaging, or is it your sense of wounded pride? Is a setback devastating, or is it your expectation for comfort being denied? Stoic psychological training is about rewriting these scripts to foster resilience. Suppose you lose a promotion at work. The initial reaction may be anger or shame, but Marcus's method is to step back. What exactly has been lost? Is your character diminished? Are your abilities gone? Or is it simply an external event which, viewed rightly, can be an opportunity for further growth? Everything that happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so. Marcus introduces the concept of amor fati, the love of fate, chance, circumstance. These are outside our control. The Stoic learns to accept, even embrace what comes. But acceptance is not passive fatalism. It's active cooperation with the order of the world. This is not to say injustice or misfortune is good. It means that resisting reality as it is only increases suffering. Our energy is better spent responding virtuously within the world's constraints. Acceptance can be misunderstood as resignation. For Marcus, it means choosing your response wisely in each moment, even if the moment is unwelcome. It's an approach used in modern therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, which borrows heavily from Stoic reframing. Marcus writes, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." This is a profound lesson in living in the present. Worry about the future is just misapplied imagination. If you handle today's problems with reason, you'll be able to handle tomorrow's when it comes. During times of crisis like economic downturns or personal uncertainty, Marcus's advice is to focus on what can be done now, not to catastrophize over endless possible futures. Book 2 contains various short entries emphasizing the practice of self-restraint and the folly of complaint. Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Marcus warns against gossip and idle curiosity. Stoicism teaches that we should attend chiefly to our own improvement, not the faults or successes of others. If discussing another serves no higher purpose, avoid it. This resonates with current advice on minimizing social comparison, on social media for instance. It is easy to fall into unhealthy patterns of self-judgment based on others' highlight reels. Do not join in the ignorant applause, and do not be carried away by the multitude. Do not busy yourself with things that are not your concern. Marcus counsels independence of mind. Do not be swayed by the crowd or by fashion. What matters is not popularity or conformity, but truth and integrity. In today's age of viral trends and outrage, Marcus's advice encourages critical thinking. Ask yourself, is this worth my attention? Does this align with my values? Book 2 is scattered with reminders of life's brevity. Think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. This is not morbidity. It is a call to prioritize what matters. By reflecting on our mortality, we sharpen our attention to the present. If you treat every day as a gift, you waste less time on trivialities or grudges. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. Marcus is inviting us to reset our approach. What if every day were a blank slate? How much more freely and wholly would you act? Book 2 is both a set of morning instructions and a philosophical toolkit for facing life's everyday battles. Marcus urges us to expect imperfection, to anchor our happiness in virtue, and to cultivate self-discipline. He emphasizes realistic acceptance, emotional detachment from externals, and the importance of focusing on what is within our control, our judgments, responses, and use of reason. The lessons here are radically practical: anticipate challenges, accept fate, and maintain integrity and perspective amid whatever comes. As we proceed, Book 3 will deepen these themes, offering further reflection on how to live philosophically in every moment. Book 3, Staying True to Yourself, Inner Discipline and the Practice of Virtue. Book 3 of Meditations continues with Marcus Aurelius's daily practice of self-examination. Here he sharpens his reflection on individual responsibility, the importance of living according to nature, and what it truly means to control one's judgments and desires. The tone grows more urgent. Marcus reminds himself that life is fleeting and that each moment is a test of character. Let's explore this section, weaving in direct quotes, accessible explanations, imagined examples, and connections to real life. Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit. Once again, Marcus begins by urging himself not to fall into the trap of caring about the affairs of others, except where it serves the greater good. He's not advocating for isolation or apathy, but for purposeful attention. Idle curiosity and judgment bring distraction. Mutual benefit is the rightful guide for our attention. Speculating about your neighbors in today's context might mean gossip, fixation on social media, comparison or judgment of others' choices. Marcus's challenge is to focus instead on what you can offer. If your thinking about someone else doesn't lead you to understanding or concrete help, let it go. A man should learn to make his aim at each action. What end in view prompts me to do this? Could I change my mind? Am I acting with integrity, or am I motivated by something superficial? Here, Marcus prescribes a practical self-check. Before undertaking any action, examine your intention. Is it out of vanity, fear, or restlessness? Or is it rooted in virtue, justice, courage, wisdom, or moderation? This is the heart of the Stoic project, philosophy as a lived, conscious process. Imagine you're considering a major purchase, entering an argument, or making a career move. Marcus advises you to ask, why am I doing this? What am I hoping to achieve? Is this in line with my values? Even if no one else ever knows your rationale, integrity means seeking the answer honestly. Never forget that everything exists for a reason and everything happens as it should. Marcus appeals to a cosmic order, what we would now call the laws of nature. He counsels trust in the unfolding of events, again reinforcing that it is our judgment of those events that brings suffering or peace. To the non-scholarly listener, this can seem fatalistic. But Marcus means this: don't waste effort on outrage over life's basic facts. Rain will fall, people will die, and circumstances will change. The challenge is to live in harmony with life's movement, not to exhaust yourself with denial or regret. You exist not as an independent being, but as part of the whole. Let your actions reflect the needs of the community, not just your personal comfort. Another central theme surfaces: interdependence. Marcus deflates the fantasy of radical independence, countering modern hyper-individualism with a call to social responsibility and cosmic perspective. To act solely for yourself is to miss the point of belonging to humanity. Think about decisions in a workplace, family, or neighborhood. The Stoic message: consider the bigger picture. Contribute to harmony, not just to your own gain. If, at any moment, you leave aside your guiding reason, you abandon yourself to chance. Marcus places reason at the center. Guided by reason, we remain anchored. If we let passions or whims drive us, we are blown about by external influence, what the Stoics call fortuna, or unpredictable fortune. Visualize your mind as a captain steering a ship. When you act from reason, you have a bearing. When you abandon reason, you're tossed by waves, your emotions, rumors, fleeting trends. On facing mortality and living each day, fully do not behave as if you are destined to live forever. What is fated hangs over you. As long as you live and while it is in your power, be good. Book 3 is laced with reminders of impermanence. Marcus isn't morbid, he's practical. If life is short, he says, don't squander it on triviality. Be good. That's his relentless metric for the use of time. When you sense time slipping, another month passing, a birthday arriving, Marcus presses, take stock. What are you prioritizing? What would you regret not having done or become? Use mortality as motivation, not fear. If you pursue your present purpose with all the intensity it demands and let go of distractions, the present moment is enough. Marcus returns to the Stoic ideal of living in accordance with nature. Focus entirely on the task at hand, devote yourself to it fully, and cease tormenting yourself about the rest. When at work, don't let your mind wander to anxieties about the weekend or regrets about yesterday. Marcus wants us to practice wholehearted presence. It's mindfulness, Stoic style, devotion to now. What stands in the way becomes the way. One of Marcus's most influential maxims, often paraphrased as, the obstacle is the way. Whatever difficulty arises is not simply to be avoided or resented, but engaged with. Adversity becomes opportunity when seen with the right mind. Say you suffer a career setback. The Stoic approach is not to fixate on what's lost, but to investigate. How can this challenge become a site for growth? What will you practice? Patience, creativity, humility, that you would never have developed otherwise. The way, Marcus insists, is found within and through the difficulty, not by skirting it. The secret to happiness is in aligning your will with what is. Happiness isn't found in bending the world to your wishes, but in harmonizing your desires with reality. When people, fate, or circumstances diverge from your plan, Marcus advises acceptance, adaptation, and alignment, not resignation, but creative cooperation. Consider losing out on an opportunity you desperately wanted. Marcus's counsel would be to acknowledge your initial disappointment, then shift to ask, what does this moment allow that I hadn't anticipated? What new good can I bring from here? Carve out each day as if it were your entire life. Marcus's image is powerful. Think of each day as self-contained, a microcosm of your whole existence. If you live each day with purpose, your life, in sum, will have been well lived. At the start of your day, pause. What would make this day meaningful, whatever its limitations? At the day's close, reflect. Did you act in accordance with your principles, regardless of what you achieved? On the power of self-reflection, Marcus exhorts himself, wipe out your imagination. Stop letting your passions jerk you around. Limit your ego. Consciously withdraw into yourself. Focus on what is in your power to control. This is an invitation to regular mental housekeeping. Question your assumptions, challenge your fears, pull your attention inward, and return to your center. Only then, Marcus believes, can true power and stability be found. Stoics are constantly wary of how the mind deceives itself through fantasy, emotion, and pride. Marcus's withdrawing into yourself is not escapism, but a return to clarity. It's the opposite of distraction. It's radical presence. Book 3 of Meditations is a toolkit for inner discipline. Marcus instructs himself and us to act always with intention, to discern our motives, and to put reason before impulse. He challenges us to accept life's flow, to respond to obstacles with creativity, to live as a cell in the larger body of humanity, and to use every day as an opportunity for virtue. His message is as sharp today as ever. The examined, intentional life is the good life. Live it before it's gone. In the coming section, Book 4, Marcus delves even deeper into the unity of the universe and the perspective needed to live in tranquility. Book 4, The Unity of the Universe and Radical Perspective. In Book 4, Marcus Aurelius intensifies his philosophical gaze, reflecting on what it means to be part of the cosmos, how to see life from a grander perspective, and how humility can be nurtured through a clear understanding of our place in the world. These meditations are among the most poetic and introspective. Marcus interweaves observations about the natural order, the brevity of existence, fate, and the power of rational thought to establish inner peace. Let's dive deeply into the major themes and passages. Everything is interwoven. Everything is in harmony. Marcus begins with a vision of the cosmos as a single, interconnected organism. He argues that, though the world appears chaotic or random, it is in fact beautifully ordered. This is not just a Stoic assertion, but an invitation to rethink our own place in the flow of events. Picture the natural world, a complex ecosystem where even hardship has a role. For Marcus, your life isn't an isolated narrative, but a thread in a vast tapestry. Alienation, envy, resentment, all stem from imagining distance where there is only unity. Today, think of the way global events ripple into your daily life. Communications, climate, economics, even fleeting moods. Marcus's ancient perspective still offers comfort. Turbulence is part of a larger equilibrium. Frequently consider the connection of all things in the universe and their relationship to one another. Everything is somehow part of a single plan. This passage asks us to meditate on context. Nothing happens in isolation. Every event, disappointment, joy, or struggle participates in a larger order beyond what we can see. Imagine watching dominoes fall. Each tip and tumble leads to another. Marcus wants us to see life's setbacks, not as isolated misfortunes, but as moments in a greater chain. Anxiety comes when we forget our connection and imagine we are alone, or that bad luck is a personal rejection. The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. One of Marcus's most enduring principles is the mutability of all things. The universe is change. In other words, everything is in flux, nothing remains. The only constant we have is the power of our own mind, our judgments and attitudes. This is not casual optimism. It's a call for discipline. If you wait for the world to give you peace, you may wait a lifetime, Marcus argues. Peace comes from how you interpret life, not from securing perfect conditions. The world can bring illness, loss, injustice. If happiness depends on circumstances, it is fragile. If it depends on your attitude, it is under your control. Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. For Marcus, to lose something, a job, a possession, a relationship, is not an unusual tragedy, but part of the cosmic rhythm. Nature delights in change. Resistance breeds only suffering. Instead of clinging to stability or mourning loss forever, Marcus encourages us to embrace transition as a path to growth. Change, though sometimes painful, is fertile ground for new strengths and virtues to emerge. On facing insult, injury, and injustice, Marcus, ever pragmatic, addresses mistreatment. When troubled by the behavior of others, recall that they act as they do because they judge it right. But you, if you judge rightly, must not be angry or dismayed. Stoic ethics rest on this distinction. Others act from their understanding, which may be flawed. Your challenge is to act from your understanding, selecting compassion and reason over retaliation. Judge rightly. This phrase implies discernment, a commitment not to respond mindlessly or mirror bad behavior. You are responsible for yourself, no matter what others do. If attacked unfairly, most people justify striking back. Marcus's guidance is radical. You are not bound to the cycle of anger. You can break it, setting your own tone. On humility and self-awareness. Keep before you at all times how swift things pass and are gone. Their being is like a river, the events of life a wind. This poetic imagery comes up repeatedly in Book 4. Everything passes. Grief, joy, youth, worry, all are temporary streams. Marcus uses this insight not to despair but to cultivate humility. When you're overwhelmed by events, try Marcus's exercise. Imagine troubles as water flowing past, not stones blocking your path. This exercise gently lessens the sting of loss and the panic of change. Do not act as if you were going to live for 10,000 years. Fate is at your elbow. So while you live, while you can, be good. Don't delay virtue, patience, forgiveness, courage. Tomorrow might not come. Marcus wants us to practice philosophical carpe diem. Be good now in whatever way you can. Maybe you're reluctant to make amends with someone or pursue a goal. Marcus's advice: life is brief. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Act nobly today. On self-reflection. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. Marcus frequently reminds himself to cultivate his inner discourse. The way you speak to yourself, the ideas you hold closest, shape your experience. Stoic practice is relentless internal auditing, not out of anxiety, but in service of peace. When negativity or anxiety arise, Marcus would have us notice the thought, question its validity, and gently direct the mind toward clarity and reason. Techniques such as journaling, mindfulness, and cognitive restructuring echo this ancient advice. Change your inner script and your life follows suit. Be like the promontory against which the restless sea continually breaks, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the waves within itself. The Stoic is a rocky shore, weathering storms, steady and unyielding. Marcus's idea of taming the waves within, difficulties provoke reaction, but the wise person remains internally undisturbed. In stressful times, family conflict, public crisis, financial pressure, imitate the promontory. Allow emotion and chaos to pass over you, responding calmly where you can, remaining undisturbed where you must. Collaborative living. On working with others. What injures the hive injures the bee. Marcus repeats the lesson on interdependence. You cannot thrive at the expense of others. Community matters. Harm done to others inevitably rebounds on oneself. Imagine a workplace where rivalry outpaces teamwork, or a family in which grudges fester. Marcus's insight: the health of the community is the health of the individual. Foster connection, not isolation, wherever you go. On fate, preparation, and equanimity. The wise man is ever ready for death, as one prepared for each task, each conversation, each event, as if it might be his last. Marcus closes Book 4 with continual reminders. Let go of the future. Enter fully into the present. Equanimity, not certainty, is the Stoic survival tool, a readiness to meet anything, and to do so with composure. When anxiety for the future arises, pause and ask, am I prepared to lose what I have? Can I welcome what comes, good or bad? Marcus wants us to build this readiness not out of passivity, but out of philosophical strength. Book 4 is Marcus's meditation on unity, humility, and radical perspective. He invites us to see ourselves as part of an interconnected universe, to embrace change, to practice compassion and humility, and to foster inner peace through disciplined thought. The wisdom here is both cosmic and practical, reminding us to be present, to offer goodness, to endure like the promontory, and to live as part of the hive rather than apart from it. Next, Book 5 explores work, fatigue, and the application of reason in daily routines. The Book 5, Overcoming Fatigue, the Call to Duty, and Reason's Role in Action. In Book 5 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius turns his attention to the struggle many of us know too well, the temptations of comfort, the weight of fatigue, and the inner tug-of-war between rest and responsibility. This section is especially practical, offering direct advice for daily life. Its lessons land with particular force for anyone who's wrestled with motivation, procrastination, or commitment to their duties. Let's journey through Marcus's reasoning, amplifying his insights with detailed commentary, direct quotes, practical analogies, and real-world parallels. At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? Marcus tackles one of humanity's oldest battles, getting up in the morning. It's a moment of honesty. He confesses that he too struggles to rise and begin the tasks of the day. But here he draws strength from a powerful reframing. Your work is not an imposition, but an expression of your nature. The instincts to sleep, to withdraw, to stay comfortable are deeply human. Yet Marcus urges us to remember that we are, by nature, made for work, meaningful action, engagement, and contribution. Just as bees instinctively serve the hive, so too are we meant for purpose and participation. If you've ever wrestled with the snooze button, Marcus's words might hit home. Stoicism reframes duty as fulfillment, not just obligation. The day's effort is an opportunity, not a sentence. Or is this what you were created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? Here Marcus pokes fun at his own desire for comfort, but quickly counters. Humans are made for more than animal indulgence. Comfort is not our ultimate aim. It is living in line with our nature, to reason, to act, to create and help. Think about times you've overcome inertia, gone to the gym despite reluctance, finished a tough project, or helped someone when it wasn't convenient. Triumph over laziness always feels deeper and more lasting than any quick comfort. You don't love yourself enough, or you'd love your nature too, and what it demands of you. This line is especially striking. Marcus equates self-love not with self-indulgence, but with living in accord with one's deeper purposes, fulfilling potential, answering one's calling. Real self-care means meeting the demands of your higher nature, not simply giving in to ease. In a culture that often equates caring for oneself with rest, Marcus's advice is a powerful counterpoint. Sometimes the act of getting up and doing meaningful work is the greatest form of self-respect. On facing reluctance and resistance, Marcus addresses the mind's protests, its attempts to rationalize avoidance, but it's nicer here. So you were born to feel nice, instead of doing things and experiencing them. Don't you see the plants, the sparrows, the ants, spiders, and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best they can? And you're not willing to do your job as a human being. Marcus draws on the activity of nature. Every living creature he observes abides by its role in the grand design without complaint. To shirk our own is to fall short of the standard set by even the sparrows, ants, spiders, and bees. This passage speaks to the temptation to compare yourself to others or opt out altogether. Marcus suggests looking not upward, to others' advantages, but outward, to the diligence of all living things, as inspiration to contribute your portion, however modest. If you were a tool or a shoe, your function would be to serve its purpose. So what is your function as a human being? This reflection leads Marcus to the Stoic teleology, the belief that everything has a purpose, and nothing is more fulfilling than fulfilling one's purpose. For tools, that means use. For humans, it means living with virtue and reason. Idleness isn't just wasted time, it's an affront to your nature. On endurance and the power of habit, Marcus recognizes that resistance to effort is universal and counters it. When you have trouble doing what's required, that's the very moment to remember why you're doing it and whom it's for. Fatigue is normal, not a personal failing. Marcus recommends the Stoic renewal of motivation. Remind yourself of your principles, your why. Service, family, growth, justice, such values give energy even when enthusiasm lags. Further, he emphasizes repetition. The mind becomes what it continually practices. Motivation rises and falls, but habit, built by persistent effort, sustains us. He writes, Work, but not as a dissatisfied person or one seeking pity or sympathy, but with strength and joy, focused on task and never expecting applause. On complaints and getting on with it, Marcus attacks the practice of complaining. No one tires of receiving benefits. Nature endures its work. Why then are you reluctant to endure your own part of the work? Here Marcus blends gratitude with acceptance. We rarely tire of good fortune, but when faced with effort, we complain. He encourages shifting our attitude. Every job, every effort, is the price of participating in the world's order. In work settings, people often groan about routine or responsibility. Marcus's challenge is to see each routine as meaningful, a test, a chance for virtue, a way of giving back. Practical reflections on death and time. Throughout Book 5, Marcus repeatedly reminds himself of life's brevity and death's inevitability. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think. This is a summons to urgency, not haste, but purpose. Rather than taking time for granted, Marcus presses us to invest every moment with intention. It's not morbid, it's motivating. When procrastinating or losing sight of what matters, Marcus advises reframing. If this day were my last, would I spend it on trivial distractions? This discipline redirects energy to what is meaningful. Do every act of your life as if it were your last. Again, this principle calls for presence, complete engagement, putting aside grudges and regret, bringing your whole self to every encounter and duty. On reason's role in governing action, Marcus reiterates that reason is what distinguishes the human mind from other creatures. He advises, if you do everything, speak everything, and think everything in conscious harmony with reason, you'll have satisfaction. Living with reason doesn't mean being cold or robotic. It means attending to each moment with awareness. Reason gives you the ability to judge what is right, what is necessary, what is just. It brings autonomy, stability, and inner coherence. A difficult conversation, a creative project, or even a boring errand, when done with conscious presence and rational intention, can be a form of personal mastery. On responding to mistakes and relapses, Marcus doesn't expect perfection. He anticipates struggle and failure, even after years of practice. If you fall, get up. If you stray, return to the path. Living is a continual beginning. This forgiveness of self is fundamental. The Stoic path is not a straight road, but a spiral, learning, stumbling, and learning again. Book 5 is Marcus Aurelius's morning manifesto, a rousing plea to shake off lethargy, return to one's purpose, and embrace work as the fulfillment of nature. He reassures us that fatigue, procrastination, and complaint are universal, but so too is the power to choose effort, meaning, and action in the service of something greater than comfort. Through duty, reason, and engagement, every day and every act can become an expression of one's highest self. The next book, Book 6, will push further into the nature of goodness, leadership, and the cultivation of inner tranquility. Book 6, The Nature of Goodness, Leadership, and Cultivating Tranquility. In Book 6 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius deepens his exploration of what it means to be good, not just in private moments, but especially as a leader, public figure, and citizen of the world. This section dives into the relationship between personal virtue and social responsibility, the temptations of pride and anger, the management of stress, and the foundations for tranquility. Let's move carefully through Marcus's meditations, unpacking their full significance with direct quotes, detailed analysis, imagined examples, expanded context, and practical implications. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Marcus begins with a powerful principle. Retaliate not in kind, but with character. If someone injures, insults, or wrongs you, the Stoic response is not vengeance, but a steadfast refusal to behave as they did. Your aim is virtue, not victory over others. Think about online arguments or workplace drama. If someone is rude, the instinct is to respond in kind. Marcus's higher standard, keep your dignity, Don't let someone else's bad behavior dictate your own. Severe criticism from a colleague? Instead of replying harshly, answer with measured respect. This is not weakness, it is strength, the power to choose your own conduct. Let whatever happens be what nature requires, and nothing your own will. Marcus is showing us how to submit to the larger order of things, aligning one's actions with nature rather than selfish whims. This is radically countercultural. Even today, personal will is championed as the highest good. Marcus insists rather that our happiness lies in working with nature, at work, in family, in public life. Think always, am I serving a greater good, or just indulging myself? For Marcus, the mark of integrity is to subdue mere preference to principle. On dealing with conflict, irritation, and anger, Marcus repeatedly tries to master his impatience and irritation. When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and ask, in what way have I erred? For our own faults are more frequent and more serious than others think. Rather than magnifying the mistakes of others, Marcus recommends introspection. Look first at your own failures. They're often more severe than those you notice in others. If a friend lets you down, reflect. Have you ever been unreliable? Was your error intentional, or did you falter unknowingly? Marcus's method reduces resentment. It brings humility and connection. Research on emotional intelligence echoes this advice. Self-awareness diffuses anger, fosters learning, and deepens empathy. Remember, too, that no one does wrong willingly. Marcus returns to the Stoic idea that wrongdoing is rooted in ignorance, not inherent malice. Thus, anger is a misplaced response. Better to educate or forgive than to blame. If you encounter injustice or rudeness, try to ask not why are they like this, but what do they lack in understanding. This turns judgment into curiosity and compassion. Do not waste yourself in rage and complaint. The world proceeds whether you seethe or rest. Here Marcus highlights the futility of outrage. The world doesn't pause for our anger. Instead, spend your energy where it can do good, on solutions, kindness, or growth. Suppose you're stuck in traffic. Rage changes nothing. Instead, use the moment. Listen to something uplifting, reflect, or simply breathe. On leadership and integrity, Marcus, as emperor, shoulders great responsibility. He reflects on his duty as a leader. It is possible to act justly, to find contentment and serenity even amid noise, chaos, and the demands of governance. The Stoic project isn't just for monks or philosophers. It's for people in the thick of action. Marcus refutes the idea that peace can only be found in silence or retreat. The challenge and the victory is to find serenity within the chaos. For anyone managing teams, families, or organizations, Marcus's advice is crucial. Tranquility comes not from withdrawing, but from composing yourself amid responsibility. Look within. Within is the source of good, and it is always springing up if you keep digging. Instead of seeking validation, power, or peace outside, Marcus insists that the source of good can only be found within. Keep digging, keep pursuing self-understanding and growth. Feeling stuck or uninspired? Marcus's directive is to look inward. Journaling, meditation, or even simple reflection can reconnect you to your purpose. On transience, fame, and attachment, Marcus offers sobering reflections on the fleeting nature of fame, power, and human legacy. How many who once praised you are now dead and gone? And how many who praised the praisers are likewise gone? Popularity and reputation, Marcus argues, are shifting sands. If you build your identity upon others' approval, you'll find yourself adrift as time passes. Focus instead on the goodness of the moment. The desire for public recognition, social media likes, or awards brings temporary satisfaction. But Marcus presses, are you good when no one is watching? That's the only lasting measure. Meditate often on the swiftness with which all things disappear. The things themselves, their memory, and the people who remember them. This is another call to humility and presence. Don't cling to external validation. Invest in virtue, for that alone endures. On avoiding distraction and staying centered, Marcus observes, If you are disturbed by something external, it's not the thing itself that troubles you, but your interpretation of it. You have the power to revoke this at any moment. This central Stoic teaching recurs. Suffering is not caused by events, but by interpretation. Your power lies in the ability to see clearly, to withdraw your judgment, and to regain peace. Your circumstances may not change, but your mindset can. In times of stress, a failed project, a harsh word, a sudden loss, Marcus's method is to pause, detach, and revise the inner narrative. Give yourself time to learn something new and better, and cease being disturbed by the old habits. Self-development is continual. Marcus urges patience. Improvement comes slowly but reliably, with effort and self-forgiveness. If you're trying to adopt a new habit or let go of a toxic one, expect setbacks but persist. Marcus models the philosophy of beginning anew each day. On service and selflessness, Marcus links happiness to social responsibility. Those who do good find fulfillment, not in thanks, but in their own action. Let your joy be in the deed itself. Stoic joy is internal, not contingent. Marcus urges us to do good as its own reward, whether or not we are appreciated. This attitude fosters resilience and reduces dependence on the volatile outside world. Research into happiness often finds that acts of kindness performed without expectation deliver the greatest satisfaction. On mindfulness and living in the present, remember that you think and act only now, this instant. Your life is happening in this moment. Marcus's now is absolute. Past and future are outside our reach. To be present is to be powerful and free. Anxiety often erupts from anticipation or regret. Marcus's prescription is mindfulness, a return to now, where action is possible and peace can be found. Book 6 presents Marcus Aurelius at his most reflective and his most practical. Here, he reinforces how character triumphs over circumstance, how leadership is service, and how tranquility is cultivated through humility, patience, and inner regulation. We are urged to respond to injury with integrity, build peace within chaos, and embrace transience as liberating. Marcus models the discipline of being present, forgiving oneself, and serving others for the sake of goodness alone. In Book 7, Marcus will further explore the nature of control, acceptance, and the power of philosophical endurance. Book 7, Acceptance, Endurance, and the Nature of Control. In Book 7 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius sharpens his focus on the limits of personal control, the reality of uncertainty, and the enduring power of philosophical acceptance. This section is compact, but densely packed, emphasizing endurance through trials, the rational approach to setbacks, and the Stoic practice of distinguishing what we can and can't change. Here, Marcus refines his views on fate, virtue, and what it means to hold the line in a world full of shifting circumstances. Let's break down his meditations with thorough commentary, direct quotes, expanded context, and modern examples for accessibility. Do not fret at what you cannot control. Right at the outset, Marcus restates a core Stoic principle. Peace comes from confining your concern to what is actually yours to influence. What falls outside your control, others' actions, public opinion, fate, is not worthy of anxiety. Fretting is a default mode for many, worrying about others, politics, the future, the weather. Marcus's guidance is to pinpoint what can be managed, your thoughts, your responses, your character, and to relinquish the rest. When a major event is cancelled due to circumstances beyond your control, frustration is natural but doesn't change the facts. Marcus teaches, feel the loss, then move forward. Focus on what you'll do next. Accept what the wind brings. All things are ordered by nature's will. Marcus invokes the idea of cosmic order, not superstition, but a rational acceptance that things happen according to processes larger than individual will. This is not resignation but liberation. The Stoic feels empowered, not imprisoned by aligning with reality. In today's language, acceptance is sometimes mistaken for passivity. But for Marcus, it's the prerequisite for action. Recognize what cannot be changed, then choose the wisest possible course. On endurance and perseverance, Marcus meditates on hardship. Whatever may happen to you was prepared for you from eternity. The web of causality all leads to this moment. This passage is poetic and profound. Endurance is not simply gritting your teeth through adversity. It's seeing every hardship as part of a larger whole. Prepared from eternity means that nothing surprises the Stoic. Every event is woven into the tapestry of fate. Facing adversity, a medical challenge, financial setback, betrayal. Marcus asks readers to believe that each moment is part of a cosmic story, not an isolated defeat. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, "How can I respond nobly now?" Be like the fire. Whatever you throw in, it makes fuel and burns even brighter. One of Marcus's most vivid metaphors, this call to resilience, is classic Stoicism. Obstacles aren't roadblocks, but raw material for growth. Like fire transforms all it touches, so adversity can be transformed into energy for virtue. Personal criticism, a failed plan, unexpected loss, all become fuel when approached with the right mind. This is the Stoic art of turning setbacks into stepping stones. On transience, perspective, and the shortness of life, Marcus continues, everything is ephemeral. The fame of men, the memory of their works, and even those who remember them. He urges us to take the long view. Everything passes, including our greatest struggles and triumphs. Transience can be sad, but also liberating. It invites us to focus on the moment and to value virtue over legacy. Anxiety about how we'll be remembered or regret over missed opportunities only weighs us down. Marcus presses, let go of these concerns. What matters is how you live right now. It is not death that man should fear, but never beginning to live. Instead of dreading the end, Marcus puts the spotlight on the present. Are you living in accordance with reason or just biding your time? Stoics treat death as inevitable. They focus energy on making each day count. Many people put off happiness, fulfillment, or growth for later. Marcus's advice is to stop postponing the project of living well. Do it now in small daily actions. On responding to others, Marcus examines social relations. The people around you may be mistaken or act on impulse, but you must not. You must live according to reason and justice. Others' faults are a given. Repeating earlier advice, Marcus directs the focus back to personal agency. Be the example, not the echo. In family, teams, or social circles, it's easy to mirror tension, gossip, or unfairness. Marcus advises, model what you admire. Don't duplicate what you disdain. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. This succinct maxim is key. Judgment is simple. Right or wrong, true or false. Marcus recommends clear standards. Don't complicate decisions with rationalizations or convoluted excuses. On mindfulness and the power of the present, do not let yourself be carried away by imagination, but restrict yourself strictly to what is now confronting you. Marcus wants the mind attuned to now, not spinning tales of what might be or what should have been. The power of the present is always available. The greatest source of anxiety is speculation. What if? What about? What should I have done? Marcus's practice is to gently pull the mind back. What am I facing right now? What is needed right now? What can I do right now? On suffering and choice, external things are not the problem. It's your assessment of them, which you can erase right now. Central to Stoic psychology, circumstances do not impose suffering, judgments do. Suppose you experience harsh criticism. Your suffering depends, Marcus teaches, not on the words themselves but on the script you write in response. Challenge, reinterpret, release, restore composure. Book 7 is a concentrated meditation on acceptance, endurance, and the intelligent use of control. Marcus Aurelius teaches how to discern what belongs to you, your thoughts, choices, actions, and to surrender the rest, finding peace in alignment with nature's order. He revisits the power of resilience, the necessity of living fully, and the simple but demanding standards of truth and justice. The Stoic is invited to endure adversity as fuel for virtue, to cultivate perspective, and to practice relentless mindfulness. Next, In Book 8, Marcus will confront attachment, temptation, the pitfalls of ego, and the steadfast pursuit of virtue in the face of comfort and distraction. Book 8. The challenge of attachment, temptation, and ego in daily life. In Book 8 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius intensifies his critiques of attachment, comforts, ego-driven pursuits, and the traps of pleasure. This book is particularly rich in self-examination and practical wisdom about resisting temptation, maintaining inner strength, and applying Stoic discipline to daily challenges. Marcus engages not only with lofty philosophical ideals, but with the minute decisions that define a life: what we choose, why we choose it, and how we keep our center amid social, emotional, and material distractions. Let's unpack these meditations with detailed commentary, multiple angles, quotes, alternative interpretations, and examples. If something is difficult for you to accomplish, do not think it impossible for anyone. But if it is possible and proper for another, consider it attainable for yourself. Marcus sets the stage by affirming self-efficacy and humility. When confronted with daunting challenges, the Stoic does not resort to self-pity or fatalism. The fact that someone else has succeeded reveals the possibility, if not now, then in time, through effort. Self-doubt is natural, but Marcus counsels us to replace "I can't" with "it can be done." To compare, not to inflame envy, but to recognize potential and motivate growth, while observing proper boundaries of what is just and good. Facing a new responsibility or skill, remember that others have learned, adapted, and grown. Approach your own growth with patient energy. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. One of the most famous lines from Meditations. Marcus refuses philosophical dithering. Instead of endless debate, he calls for action. Embody virtue, moment by moment. In today's world, debate on ethics, leadership, and virtue abounds. Marcus's directive makes the process concrete. Do not merely discuss or postulate, but act. Let action be the measure, not intention or talk. Be cheerful and seek out occasions for virtue. Marcus underscores cheerfulness as a virtue, not as naive optimism, but as cultivated disposition. Virtue does not reside in sourness, but in energized, hopeful engagement. Cheerfulness can be difficult amid adversity. Marcus encourages us to seek opportunities for good, finding ways to serve, help, or uplift in every encounter. A difficult customer, frustrating bureaucracy, disappointing news. All occasions Marcus suggests for patience, empathy, or creative action. On temptation, pleasure, and the trap of comfort, Marcus presents a sustained critique of indulgence. Let not your thoughts be distracted by pleasure, by pain, or by reputation. Remain self-possessed and upright. Here he draws a line. Surrender to pleasure or pain, or to the lure of reputation, loosens the grip of character. The Stoic ideal is to remain internally regulated, unmoved by fleeting moods or external approval. Today's world overflows with temptations, consumerism, status, escape into entertainment or food. Marcus argues that lasting happiness comes not from surrender, but from wise management of desire. Some critics might say suppressing pleasure breeds coldness, but Marcus's nuanced approach distinguishes between enjoying and being ruled by pleasure. The key is autonomy. Enjoy, but do not depend on or lose yourself to temporary delight. Adapt yourself to all presence. The universe is change. Your life is what your thoughts make it. Marcus returns to his earlier theme, adaptation. The wise person does not demand stasis or predictability, but welcomes change as the context for meaningful action. Sudden life events, a job transfer, unexpected illness, market shifts, challenge stability. Marcus's advice is to focus on mindset and adaptive response, not on controlling the uncontrollable, on ego, status, and reputation. He takes on the dangers of ego and status seeking. Consider yourself dead, and act as though your time was now at an end. What remains will be lived according to nature. This paradoxical invitation, live as if dying, heightens urgency and humility. Fear of death fades when life is lived in accordance with nature. Worry about reputation falls away when every act is aligned with virtue. Ego flourishes in the belief of unlimited time or the fantasy of endless opportunity for recognition. Marcus dismantles this by recalling mortality and insisting on present action. Do you wish to be praised by a world where you were a stranger yesterday and may be forgotten tomorrow? Marcus exposes the instability of human approval. Being geeky praised by a world means nothing if that world's standards are shallow or fickle. The direct remedy: seek your measure in rightness, not reputation. In a society driven by online affirmations or status, Marcus's call pushes us toward deeper values: contribution, truth, and consistency. On self-governance, consistency, and autonomy, Marcus reiterates the importance of inner sovereignty. No one loses any other life than the one they are living, nor does anyone live any other life than the one they are losing. The present moment is all we possess. He directs attention to the now. Regret for the past or worry for the future erodes the present. Marcus's Stoicism is rigorous, demanding full attention and responsibility for the life at hand. Sometimes people lament missed opportunities or fantasize about alternative paths. Marcus shrinks all this to the present moment. That is where choice and freedom reside. Hold to your own good. Never be distracted by others' faults or errors. Marcus cautions against moral distraction, focusing on others, condemning or envying, rather than cultivating your own strengths. In community or workplace, resentment can arise from others' mistakes or unfairness. Marcus's solution: direct energy inward, maintain integrity, avoid reactive blame. On mindfulness and inquiry, Marcus invites ongoing reflection. Keep yourself simple, good, pure, serious, honest. Be steadfast to your purpose, and do not let others distract you. This is the Stoic formula for mindfulness: simple, focused attention on the pursuit of good, free from complexity or self-doubt. Simplicity is an antidote to the noise and distraction of modern life. Marcus prescribes seriousness not as grimness, but as clarity, commitment to purpose without being swayed by triviality. Be open to correction. If someone convincingly shows you that you are mistaken, change your mind. Not to shame, but to truth. This line emphasizes intellectual humility. Truth, not pride, is the sifting mechanism. Accept correction gladly. Improvement is the aim, not ego. When receiving feedback, focus on learning, not on defending yourself. Marcus's advice encourages adaptability and growth. Summary of Book 8. Book 8 is Marcus Aurelius's detailed manual for combating everyday temptations, ego, and the allure of comfort. He counsels strength, cheerfulness, urgent present-mindedness, and detachment from reputation. Temptations and attachments are managed through reason, humility, and steadfast purpose. Virtue over distraction, depth over appearance. Marcus urges readers to maintain simplicity, be open to feedback, and act decisively in the present, resisting the tides of pleasure and status. Book 9 continues with meditations on relationships, social duty, cooperative living, and the daily navigation of obstacles large and small. Book 9, Social Duty, Relationships, and Navigating Daily Obstacles. Book 9 of Meditations finds Marcus Aurelius returning to the crucible of everyday life, our obligations to others, the nature of community, the roots of conflict, and how to blend Stoic ideals with the complicated dynamics of groups, families, and societies. Here, Marcus offers pointed insights on dealing with difficult people, understanding the motives of others, the importance of forgiveness, and the necessity of social harmony. Above all, he reinforces the principle that the art of living is deeply social. No Stoic is an island. Let's unravel the depth of Marcus's reflections with direct analysis, layered context, and a wealth of relatable examples and interpretations. Opening. When you wake up, remember, you have to meet with busybodies, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial people. Marcus's pragmatic approach continues. He warns himself not to be disappointed by the shortcomings of others. Expect these failings and you prepare your mind for patience and resilience, not shock or resentment. Expanded analysis. Many daily frustrations arise from unrealistic expectations about others. Marcus's counsel is to adopt compassionate realism, not becoming jaded but accepting human imperfection as standard, not exception. None of them can harm me. No one can implicate me in ugliness. Marcus emphasizes the Stoic principle of personal sovereignty. Others. Behavior need not drag you into vice or anxiety. No matter how others behave, your mind, your choices, and your character remain yours alone. Modern example. In group projects, families, or online interactions, others may fail or frustrate you. Marcus urges us to guard the boundaries of our own virtue. Someone else's anger need not make you angry. Their deceit need not make you suspect. Quote, call out. When you blame someone, ask, is it truly their fault, or did they act as they believed was right? Marcus revisits the core Stoic idea that people do wrong from ignorance, not inherent evil. This isn't an excuse for wrongdoing, but a path to understanding and forgiveness. Expanded application. Try this in a tense confrontation. Instead of assuming malice, consider what the other person believed or misunderstood. It often dissolves anger and opens a door to resolution. If someone has injured you, focus not on the injury but on your own response. Was it appropriate? Just? Generous? Marcus counsels shifting the spotlight back onto our own faculties. He avoids the victim mindset, instead asking, how did I respond? How might I respond better next time? The Stoic seeks learning, not lingering pain. On social nature and the common good, Marcus elaborates on the interconnectedness of humanity. We are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids, like the rows of upper and lower teeth. Society is natural, not artificial. Cooperation is our biological and philosophical design. Conflict, he suggests, is like one hand harming the other, ultimately self-destructive. Expanded commentary. In any community, success and well-being are collective. Marcus's vision is not only individual harmony but social harmony. The individual's peace contributes to the group's peace. To work against one another is contrary to nature. To be angry or turn away from one another is against nature. This is a rejection of cynicism and callousness. Marcus's position isn't naive. He's fully aware of human flaws. But his advice is radical. Practice unity as a principle and take others' failings as opportunities for patience. Modern example. At work, when office politics or gossip arise, resist the urge to join in conflict. Practice directness, fairness, and strive to restore a constructive atmosphere. On forgiveness and overcoming grudges, Marcus's tone is uncompromising but gentle. If it is possible, correct them. If not, accept their failings and move on. Anger at others only harms yourself. Forgiveness, in Marcus's view, is practical self-care as much as moral generosity. Harboring grudges or indignation is like drinking poison, expecting the other to suffer. Expanded interpretation. Today, clinicians echo this truth. The science of well-being shows that holding on to anger damages our own health more than it affects the wrongdoer. How short the time is when you and your neighbor shall be no more. Let it suffice to love him now. Marcus recalls the brevity of life as a balm for resentment. Consider the fleeting nature of time and the mortality of all involved. What is most urgent is reconciliation, not triumph. On judgment and perspective, take care not to be hurt, for you cannot be humiliated except by your own consent. For Marcus, harm is not what others do to you, but what you allow into your mind and heart. Dignity comes from the refusal to internalize mistreatment. Modern analogy. Online trolling or criticism cannot injure character without your assent. Marcus's advice is to filter carefully, respond to what is true, ignore what is not yours to carry. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Here he returns to the core Stoic teaching on the power of interpretation. If you change the meaning you give to events, you change the power they have over you. On consistency, duty, and self-possession, Marcus continues, do what is necessary and speak as reason directs you. Do not be distracted by the chaos of others. This is the practice of anchor and action. Let reason, not others' moods, guide your conduct. If you cannot improve a situation, withdraw, not in defeat, but in dignity. Knowing when to intervene and when to let go is an art. Marcus permits withdrawal when further engagement only brings discord or frustration. This preserves peace and humility. Summary of Book 9. Book 9 delivers practical wisdom for social living, acceptance of others, forgiveness, the resolve to act with virtue, regardless of context, and the necessity for consistent self-possession. Marcus teaches that social living is both a duty and a means for inner strength. He returns again and again to humility, reminding us of the briefness of quarreling, the folly of grudges, and the lasting reward of character over victory. To be stoic in society is not to withdraw, but to participate with patience, grace, and stability. In Book X, Marcus will reflect further on nature, fate, the cycles of life, and how a philosophical outlook can bring unshakable inner stability. Book 10, Nature, Fate, and Mastering the Cycles of Life. Book 10 of Meditation sees Marcus Aurelius turning his mind ever more toward the cosmic perspective, how cycles and changes are governed by nature, fate, and reason. He wrestles with accepting the world as it is, mastering inner stability, and understanding the interplay between personal agency and the order of things. This section radiates with reflections on the relationship between life's unpredictability and the Stoic quest for composure. It's both existential and practical, inviting us to align ourselves with the natural order and to find tranquility within the eternal currents of change. Let's move through this rich field with in-depth analysis, direct quotes, multi-layered commentary, and abundant examples suited for all audiences. Opening, live willingly, surrendering yourself to fate as it directs you. Marcus begins Book 10 by reiterating a fundamental Stoic attitude: acceptance. Fate is not a mysterious force, but the sum of causes and conditions, what nature, time, and chance deliver. Marcus doesn't preach passivity, but rather cooperative participation with reality. Expanded analysis: if you resist or resent the flow of events, you find only frustration. Marcus invites us to live willingly, to work with rather than against what unfolds. Acceptance, in this sense, isn't weakness, but clarity and courage. Modern example: when plans fail, relationships end, or unexpected demands arise. Marcus's philosophy is to adapt, make peace with the outcome, and cultivate resilience. Quote, call out: if it is in your power, why do it unwillingly? If it is not, why do you complain? For nothing comes to pass against nature. Marcus here merges agency and surrender. When action is possible, do it wholeheartedly. When it isn't, let go of complaint. This binary provides a stable lens through which to view every circumstance. Interpretation: anxiety and disappointment often stem from confusing what can be controlled with what cannot. Marcus's advice for sorting this out is timeless and actionable. On the continuity of change, he explores impermanence. Everything is changing. You are part of a universe driven by transformation. Each moment is new. Cling to nothing but reason and virtue. Marcus expands this perspective. Our lives, bodies, experiences, all are in constant flux. Reason and virtue are the oars with which we navigate this ever-shifting river. Extended commentary: fearing change leads to stagnation. Marcus equips us with tools not only to accept change, but to thrive within it: adaptation, intention, and commitment to good. Modern parallel: economic shifts, technological advances, personal aging. Change is the substance of life. Stoic strength grows from adjusting to new realities, not yearning for lost conditions. The mind adapts and transforms what it faces. What opposes it becomes its material, its exercise, its fuel. Marcus recalls his earlier analogy of fire. Opposition doesn't destroy, but fuels growth. This is the principle of anti-fragility. Adversity, faced rightly, makes us stronger. Example: setbacks and opposition can build resilience, sharpen creativity, and develop patience. Approach challenge as teacher, not enemy. On justice, integrity, and living with purpose, Marcus returns to ethical imperatives. Whatever does not harm the community does not harm the individual. He connects personal good with the common good. Well-being is not isolated. Moral action and justice serve both the individual and the whole. Expanded interpretation: when making tough decisions, Marcus advises us to ask, does this help or harm the greater whole? Ethics isn't solitary. It's woven through the fabric of social living. Have I done something for the common good? Then I have benefited. Let this always be present in your mind and never forgotten. Marcus defines success by contribution, not achievement. If you've helped, however modestly, you've lived well. Example, holding the door, listening to someone in distress, creating solutions, all are manifestations of Stoic virtue, regardless of their recognition. On self-governance, equanimity, and steadiness, he explores consistency. Keep your mind immune to pleasure and pain, fame and shame, and all that is beyond your control. Marcus emphasizes equanimity, remaining unmoved by the shifting winds of fortune and misfortune. Pleasure and pain are temporary. Character is enduring. Expanded application. Whether in success or failure, the Stoic keeps balance. Celebrate achievements with gratitude, not pride. Weather losses with learning, not bitterness. The mind can color any experience. Practice viewing events as indifferent. They are neither good nor bad, but simply happen. Stoic indifference doesn't breed apathy, but opens space for rational evaluation. Marcus suggests that circumstances have only the meaning you assign to them. Modern example, breaking a glass is neither tragic nor comic. It's an event. Anxiety or amusement comes from your interpretation. On death and the limits of time, Marcus faces mortality with serenity. You are a soul carrying a corpse. Time is a river. Soon you will have been swept away. This vivid imagery reminds us of the fleeting nature of physical existence. Marcus's counsel isn't despair but perspective. Let go of vanity and attachment. Live as a soul, not merely a body. Quote, call out. Death is not evil. What is evil is to yield one's character to pleasure or pain. Here Marcus distinguishes fate from virtue. Death is outside our control. The shaping of our character is always possible. Focus on what endures, the soul's disposition. Expanded example, instead of fearing the end of life, Marcus teaches us to fear only an unlived, unprincipled existence. On reflection and renewal, renew yourself, retreat to your mind, allow nature and reason to restore your clarity. Marcus closes Book 10 by calling for regular self-renewal. Amid the turmoil of events, retreat inward, not to escape the world, but to restore energy and sense. Practice. Mindful walks, contemplation, or simply pauses for reflection can help you reconnect with purpose and peace. Summary of Book 10. Book 10 is a meditation on nature, fate, impermanence, and the cultivation of equanimity. Marcus Aurelius invites a grand perspective, one that blends ongoing change with steadfast virtue, acceptance with intentionality, and mortality with a life well lived. He presses the reader to act fully when possible, to let go of complaint when not, and to color every experience with rational clarity. In every interaction he shuns vanity for virtue, isolation for service, and distraction for mindfulness. Book 11 will dive deeper into honesty, authenticity, intellectual discipline, and balancing emotional truth with rational action. Book 11. Honesty, authenticity, and intellectual discipline. In Book 11 of Meditations, Marcus Aurelius sharpens his focus on the virtues of truthfulness, straightforwardness, and the rigor of intellectual discipline. He weighs the value of sincerity, the dangers of self-deception, the practice of clear thinking and speech, and the art of balancing emotion with reason. This is a key moment in the work, an exploration of authenticity both in our actions and in the stories we tell ourselves. Let's break down Marcus's lessons, providing expanded commentary, direct quotes, multiple interpretations, and modern scenarios for deep understanding. Opening, do not tell yourself anything false, nor let yourself be carried away by imagination. Marcus opens with the core Stoic commitment to truthfulness, not simply to others, but first and foremost to oneself. The temptation to indulge in comforting lies, excuses, or catastrophizing fantasies is ever present. Real strength, Marcus argues, is found in facing facts as they are, not as we wish them to be. Expanded analysis. Self-deception takes many forms, justifying procrastination, minimizing our faults, exaggerating threats. Marcus recommends a ruthless but gentle honesty, identifying when we're drifting from reality. Modern example. Do you ever say, "I'll just check social media for a minute," and lose an hour telling yourself it's justified? Marcus's advice is to notice these stories and re-anchor in what's real. Quote, call out. Say what you think in just and plain words. Let your speech be simple, honest, and straightforward. Marcus sets a standard for integrity in conversation: no subtext, manipulation, or rhetorical trickery. Speak with directness. Let your words be as simple as the truth they're meant to convey. Expanded interpretation. In a digital age filled with spin, curated personas, and half-truths, Marcus's path of plain speech is challenging but essential for real trust. Practice it with others and with yourself. On judgment, sincerity, and moral clarity, let your affection be sincere and free from affectation or flattery. Marcus warns against performative or shallow emotion. Stoic relationships are marked by authenticity. Caring, concern, or disapproval are offered honestly, not just to fit in or avoid discomfort. Application. Imagine giving feedback to a friend or colleague. Flattery may be easier, but Marcus urges sincerity, delivered kindly and clearly. Preserve the sovereignty of your mind. Let nothing from outside disturb the clarity of your reason. External events, gossip, offense, temptation, should not be allowed to cloud judgment. Marcus encourages a disciplined inwardness, a mind ruled by reason, not by outside drama. Expanded example. At work or home, crises may swirl. Marcus recommends regularly recentering, distinguishing between facts and feelings, and making decisions deliberately, not reactively. On suspending judgment, avoiding prejudice, and open-mindedness. If you are not sure, suspend judgment. To judge in ignorance is to do yourself injury. The discipline of epoch, withholding immediate judgment, is central to Stoic intellectual humility. Snap judgments are more emotional reflex than rational process. Marcus counsels patience, expanded analysis. When confronted with gossip, rumor, or emotionally charged news, practice pausing. Nega, acquire the full facts before responding or forming a conclusion. Alternative angle. This is especially relevant to social media, where rapid reaction often replaces measured analysis. Marcus would say, don't hit send, wait, reflect, reconsider. Quote, call out. Be quick to perceive and act, but slow to judge and condemn. Be responsive to opportunity. Don't hesitate where good can be done. But when it comes to judging motives, actions, or intentions of others, move slowly, check your facts, temper your gut feelings. On ego, self-importance, and working for the common good, Marcus repeatedly warns against pride and self-aggrandizement. In all you do, let the benefit of others be your aim. Work for the common good, not for recognition or personal gain. He re-emphasizes the Stoic notion of cosmopolitanism, that we are all citizens of the universe, linked by rational nature and mutual obligation. Expanded interpretation. Success or achievement should be measured by contribution, not applause. When considering career or personal goals, Marcus would have us ask, how does this serve others, not just myself? Example. Volunteering, teaching, or mentoring are forms of work Marcus praises, so long as they are approached with sincere motivation, not for the sake of status. Do your duty without attachment to the outcome. Your actions are yours. Approval or blame from others is not. This echoes a recurring Stoic theme. Focus on what you can control, your actions, and detach from what you cannot, the world's response. On balancing emotion and reason, let your mind stand firm, unmoved by pleasure and pain, praise, or blame. Marcus recommends equanimity, a steady, resilient spirit amidst life's fluctuations. The purpose is not detachment from emotion itself, but from the tyranny of whims, impulsive moods, and shifting fortunes. Expanded application. When praised, thank the person, but don't crave more. When criticized, listen for truth, improve if needed. but don't let it define you. The intellect should take charge, guiding emotions, not being ruled by them. Marcus's rationalism is not anti-emotional but prioritizes clarity. Passion, trauma, or excitement are part of life. Their channeling, not their suppression, is what the Stoic seeks. On living in accordance with nature and present-mindedness, let each day's work absorb you, and be satisfied if you have acted in the service of reason and good. Marcus turns to the unity of work, reason, and satisfaction. Achievement is not measured in volume or adulation, but in faithfulness to daily purpose, expanded analysis, mindfulness, putting full attention into the task at hand, replaces anxiety about outcomes, comparison, and regret. There is one thing of which a person can be deprived, never to return: time. Let that suffice. Marcus's closing reminder: all possessions, opportunities, and experiences pale before the simple, swift passing of time. Each moment is precious. The currency of living well is how we use our limited days. Summary of Book 11. Book 11 of Meditations is a rigorous manifesto for truthfulness, intellectual discipline, and authentic living. Marcus Aurelius urges readers to cut through illusion, avoid self-deception, speak plainly, resist impulse, and treat each day's work as the crucible of a well-lived life. He sheds pride, rejects flattery, and balances emotion with rational clarity, making the case for a life that is useful to others and consistent with nature's truth. Through this, Marcus lays the groundwork for a Stoic existence defined by inner freedom, social concern, and unwavering honesty. Book 12, the last, will bring together Marcus's deepest meditations on acceptance, the finality of fate, and the act of letting go. Book 12, Letting Go, Final Lessons on Acceptance, Mortality, and Living Well. Book 12, the final book of Meditations, is Marcus Aurelius's philosophical farewell, a set of closing meditations that reach the deepest, most distilled Stoic wisdom. Here Marcus turns to the acceptance of fate, the peace of letting go, the reality of death, and the serenity that comes from dissolving attachments and judgments. This last section is at once intimate and universal, a summing up, a letting go, and an exhortation to live the rest of each life fully and without illusion. Let's explore this final book with full commentary, layered interpretations, direct quotes, and fresh examples that put Marcus's insights in a modern light. Opening: everything you see will change and soon be gone. Marcus begins his final meditations with a clear-eyed vision of impermanence. Deeds and days, cities and stars, fame and fortunes, all pass quickly. This is not grounds for despair, but for gratitude and clarity. The Stoic does not cling. They use each moment wisely. Expanded analysis. The recognition of change strips away anxiety about loss. Why fear what cannot stay? Why resent what cannot be held? Marcus offers soothing detachment. Let go and focus only on what remains in your power. The use of reason and virtue in the present. Quote, call out. Pass through this brief life as nature directs. Be tranquil, do good, and stop philosophizing about what a good person is. Just be one. In these parting words, Marcus returns to a recurring theme. Don't be tangled in grand theories. Practice goodness daily. The measure of life is not in contemplation, but in continual enactment. Soon you will have forgotten everything. Soon everyone will have forgotten you. Always remember, only the present belongs to you. Here Marcus calls out the vanity of legacy and memory. The only real possession is now. This invites humility and presence. To be remembered or forgotten is out of your hands. Shape what is yours, the quality of today. On death and dissolving fear. Death for Marcus is not a terror but a release. This is the nature of all things. To change, to pass on, and to be transformed. Nothing is destroyed, only altered. Marcus adopts a cosmic perspective. Death as much a part of nature as growth, everything recycling, nothing truly ending. Energy is conserved, form merely shifts. Expanded interpretation. This vision is meant to dissolve ghost stories around mortality. The fear of death weakens, when we see it simply as a change in state, not obliteration. Modern example. The ending of a beloved chapter, career, home, relationship, felt as a death. Marcus's counsel is to observe the transformation and seek what new growth it invites. Death is a rest from the sensations of the body, from the impulses that drive us, from the interpretive mind. It is not to be feared. Marcus dissects the components of death: relief from pain, rest from desire, and a release from the stories the mind tells. If life is lived with fullness, its ending is not to be dreaded. On ultimate acceptance and submission to nature, let go of all anxiety for the future. Surrender your claim on outcomes. Be satisfied with whatever nature brings. Here Marcus gives his most radical advice. Release control not just in theory, but in each moment's expectation. The good Stoic is content with whatever occurs, not resigned, but at peace, acting well regardless of the result. Expanded commentary. Anxiety about tomorrow, about legacy or reputation, ceases to matter. The focus is the present. What virtue demands, what reason asks of you now. Do not be carried away by images. Do not be troubled by what does not exist or what may never come to pass. Marcus returns to his lifelong fight against imagination, turning into fear, regret, or fantasy. Reality, not the mind's projections, is to be met with care and gratitude. On simplicity, insignificance, and wonder, consider how small a part you play in the world. Your epoch, your station, your fame, none of it matters to the whole. What matters is that you played your part well. Marcus closes not in grandiosity but in humility. This is not to diminish life but to clarify the scale of things. Awareness of our smallness frees us. No duty is too small, no moment too insignificant for care or excellence. Expanded example. Whether you are a parent, a worker, an artist, or a passerby, attend to your little bit of the universe with integrity and attention. Be content to go on your way doing justice. Speak the truth, live simply, be cheerful, accept what is fated. This is Marcus's final syllabus: justice, honesty, simplicity, cheerfulness, and acceptance. He's distilled life to its functional essence. Quote, call out, life is opinion. In a handful of words, Marcus explains the Stoic mind. We experience not the world as it is, but as it appears to us, through our beliefs and judgments. Change your opinion, change your world. Let beliefs be tested and curated with care. On universal brotherhood and the web of life, Marcus finalizes his ethical vision. Care for all people, be gentle, but do not expect them to be perfect. Compassion is not naive optimism, but a determined, practiced benevolence. The Stoic way is to anticipate imperfection and love anyway. Work for the common good. Look for the common spark of nature in all. In closing, Marcus invites readers into a lifelong project of service. Find common cause and kinship wherever possible. On letting go, peace, and the end. As you go, leave behind your cares. Move on with serenity, as if setting out for a place of ultimate rest. Be as a ripe fruit ready to drop. Greet the end with joy as a traveler going home. Marcus's image is one of acceptance and final joy, a traveler unburdened by regret or anxiety, ready for what comes next. Expanded application. Have you done your work? Have you acted with justice and reason? Then let go. No moment, person, or possession is truly yours. This gives freedom, not loss. Summary of Book 12 and the whole work. Book 12 is Marcus Aurelius's gentle and wise goodbye. It is a meditation on impermanence, humility, death, and the act of peaceful letting go. All the threads of meditations converge here: acceptance, presence, submission to nature, virtue, and service for the common good. Be tranquil, do good, stop philosophizing, just live well. With these words, Marcus leaves us a legacy of practical wisdom that remains relevant, profound, and transformative. Critical engagement, interpretations, objections, and a scholarly critique of meditations. Having closely analyzed each section of meditations, we now move into a critical engagement with the work, summarizing how scholars have interpreted Marcus Aurelius, discussing strengths and challenges of Stoic thought, and rigorously examining counterpoints to his approach, will draw from major philosophical discourse and modern psychological insight, illuminate both praise and objections, and frame the enduring strengths and weaknesses of the book's legacy. Interpretations: how scholars have read Marcus Aurelius. Stoicism as pragmatic philosophy. Many scholars highlight the practicality of Marcus Aurelius's Stoicism. His advice is directly aimed at the difficulties of everyday life: anger, grief, fear, self-doubt. Pierre Hadot, the influential French philosopher, interpreted Meditations as a spiritual exercise, not a theoretical treatise, but a guide for ongoing self-cultivation. According to Hadot, Marcus wrote not to instruct others, but to remind himself. Thus the tone is urgent and personal. Stoicism as self-discipline and resilience. Others have stressed the psychological insight in Marcus's methods, the reframing of emotion, distinguishing between internal and external, and the mantra-like repetition of core Stoic tenets. Contemporary therapists often find Stoic echoes in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, the practice of challenging runaway thoughts, focusing on the present and letting go of what cannot be controlled. The Emperor's contradictions. Some interpret Marcus's philosophy as inherently paradoxical. How does one reconcile absolute acceptance of fate with the need for social engagement and reform? Marcus was an emperor, tasked with real power, but his philosophy often suggests retreating from ambition and pride. Scholars such as A. A. Long and Martha Nussbaum have pointed to these tensions. Was Marcus too passive, so focused on acceptance that he risked complacency in the face of injustice? Personal diary or public guide. A final major interpretive thread concerns the intent of the work. Was Meditations meant only for Marcus or for the world? Many passages read like private notes without care for structure or audience. This has led to debate. Are the teachings consistent and universal, or are they deeply idiosyncratic? A window into the mind of a particular man at a particular time. Objections and counterpoints. Strengths and weaknesses of Stoic approach. Strength: emotional resilience and self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius's greatest strength for many lies in emotional regulation and self-mastery. By training the mind to distinguish fact from interpretation and control from uncontrollable, Stoicism provides tools for mental resilience. In a world overflowing with anxiety, distraction, and outrage, Stoic calmness offers a powerful antidote. Objection: emotional suppression and detachment. Critics, both ancient and modern, have charged that Stoicism sometimes verges on emotional suppression or detachment. Is it healthy to blunt anger, grief, and desire? Might complete acceptance become an excuse for passivity, or a failure of compassion when strong emotion is justified? Friedrich Nietzsche, for example, saw Stoicism as a denial of life's wild forces, a philosophy that wants to live in accordance with nature by living against it. Strength: universal brotherhood and social duty. Marcus's vision of cosmopolitanism and common good is often praised. Unlike philosophies that emphasize solitary enlightenment, Stoicism, especially in Marcus, champions cooperation and care for others. Objection: social engagement versus retreat. Some scholars and critics have noted a paradox in Marcus's exhortations to both engage with the world and detach from it. If the ideal is unbothered composure, why invest in politics, progress, or protest? Marcus wrote as emperor of a slave state, yet his philosophy does not robustly challenge systemic injustice. This tension remains a subject for ampler debate, perhaps the greatest weakness from a modern ethical standpoint. Strength: mindfulness before modern mindfulness. Stoicism is hailed for its focus on the present and for promoting a form of mindfulness centuries before popular psychology. Its exercises in acceptance, observation, and gentle correction resonate with today's therapeutic approaches. Objection: individualism and the dangers of self-absorption. But this inward focus can be read as excessively individualistic, preoccupied with inner peace at the expense of collective action or empathy. Are Stoics, especially in their most rigorous form, at risk of being aloof or disengaged from human suffering? Logical analysis. testing Marcus's core claims. Claim, your judgments, not things, disturb you. Logic supports Marcus's main psychological insight. Reactions shape experience. However, critics argue for nuance. Some events, trauma, loss, systemic oppression, have real lasting effects that cannot simply be reframed away, no matter how disciplined the mind. Claim, fate orders the world, accept and work with it. This works as a general mindset, but Marcus's worldview rooted in providence or universal order is less persuasive in a secular or chaotic context. Today's audience may ask, is the universe really rational, or is this wishful thinking? Marcus's fate is more poetic ideal than empirically grounded truth. Claim, virtue is enough for happiness. The Stoic claim that virtue alone is sufficient, regardless of circumstance, remains debatable. Critics from Aristotle onward have argued for a richer account of well-being that includes some external goods. Response: Stoic practice, not Stoic perfection. Defenders reply that Marcus practiced Stoicism as an ongoing project, not an endpoint. He was aware of difficulty and failure, as is plain in his constant reminders to himself. For Marcus, philosophy is not a shield from suffering, but a way to suffer more courageously and to act more justly, however flawed the world. Ultimately, Meditations survives centuries not because it is internally flawless, but because Marcus Aurelius models an earnest, humble philosophical striving. He shows transparently the daily work of improving judgment, regulating emotion, acting justly, and letting go. Critics and supporters alike agree, here is philosophy as a living practice, not a theoretical abstraction. Modern relevance and applications of Meditations. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations almost 2,000 years ago, yet his insights resonate powerfully in the present. Modern readers, from CEOs to therapists, soldiers to students, consistently turn to the book for guidance on resilience, ethical living, managing stress, and confronting personal and social challenges. In this section, we'll explore how Marcus's ideas apply to contemporary life, drawing direct connections to present-day debates, practices, and communities. 1. Stoic resilience in anxious times. In an age dominated by uncertainty, pandemics, career instability, rapid change, Marcus Aurelius' counsel to focus on what you control and accept what you cannot offers a blueprint for psychological resilience. His daily premeditation of evils is mirrored by today's practice of visualizing setbacks and preparing adaptive responses. Example: cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, widely used to treat anxiety and depression, explicitly teaches clients to recognize unhelpful thoughts, challenge their impact, and focus on action over rumination. Marcus's advice, "It's not things that distress you but your judgments," is quoted in therapy rooms worldwide. 2. Mindfulness and presence. Stoic exercises like concentrating on the present parallel secular mindfulness techniques. When Marcus urges, "You live in the present, this moment is all you own," he echoes modern teachers who encourage attention to breath, sensation, and current experience, not lost in regret or worry. Application. In workplaces, athletes, and daily routines, mindfulness and Stoic reflection help people reduce distraction, regain focus, and recover from setbacks. 3. Leadership, integrity, and modern ethics. Marcus's model of leadership, emphasizing service, humility, and composure under pressure, stands in sharp contrast to dominance or ego-driven leadership styles still prevalent today. In business, the servant leader cultivates trust by caring for the well-being of the group, not just self-advancement. Marcus's directive, "Let your joy be in the deed itself. Approval is nothing," frees leaders to make principled, unpopular decisions when necessary. In politics and public service, Marcus's repeated calls for justice, duty, and the common good remain benchmarks for responsible governance, especially in a polarized world longing for steady, ethical leadership. 4. Navigating the social media age, detachment from praise and blame. Today's culture of likes, shares, and public feedback magnifies the very temptations Marcus warns against: seeking validation, fearing rejection, being swayed by fads or applause. His Stoic antidote, anchor your self-worth in inner virtue, not external approval, is a crucial lesson for maintaining self-esteem and authenticity online. Example: content creators, activists, and everyday users report mental health improvements when they shift from chasing online validation to focusing on honest self-expression and doing the work for its own sake. 5. Social connection, cosmopolitanism, and ethics for the global age. Marcus's belief in the brotherhood of all and duty to the common good takes on new force in an interconnected, multicultural world. His counsel, "What injures the hive injures the bee," sounds like an early charter for global citizenship, environmentalism, and cooperative politics. Modern debate, discussions of immigration, climate, economic policy, and human rights are enriched by his vision of universal rationality, justice, and collective well-being. 6. Emotional self-regulation and sustainability. Marcus's exercises in anger management, letting go of envy, and diffusing resentment are increasingly relevant in times of political outrage and emotional stress. Social and emotional learning programs in schools, sports, and organizations draw from Stoic principles for building rational self-mastery and resilient teams. Practical strategy: pause, reflect, and question your first emotional response before acting, a classic Stoic habit that lessens conflict and improves outcomes. 7. Facing mortality and finding meaning. The Stoic meditation on impermanence, embracing the present, letting go of the past, and acting justly in view of death, remains an antidote to modern existential anxiety. Whether in palliative care, life coaching, or moments of crisis, Marcus's calm, dignified acceptance of fate reassures and empowers. Example: end-of-life counseling, grief groups, and philosophical counseling sessions regularly use Stoic texts to help patients and families focus not on loss, but on the love and honesty still possible in the time that remains. Modern influence. Who reads Marcus today? Executives and startup founders deploy Stoic ideas for decision-making and stress management. Therapists and coaches use Stoic routines for emotional well-being. Writers, artists, and activists turn to Marcus to maintain inner clarity and social purpose. Ordinary people, anyone wrestling with adversity or seeking calm, find in his words a trusted guide. Enduring power. Why does meditation still matter? Marcus Aurelius's relevance endures because he speaks directly, candidly, and humbly about the central problems of being human: control, meaning, fear, hope, justice, and love. He does not offer perfection. Instead, he offers companionship on the journey, a reminder that all of us at every time face the challenge of living with integrity, acting wisely, and letting go with peace. Whether in moments of hardship, triumph, confusion, or clarity, meditations remains a touchstone, one that can be opened at random for strength, or studied for a lifetime as a philosophy that is always ancient, always new. Conclusion: the lasting legacy of Marcus Aurelius' meditations. As we bring this deep dive script to a close, let us pause to reflect on the profound journey we've shared through Marcus Aurelius' meditations. What began as a diary of private reflections, one emperor's attempt to live virtuously in a complex, often hostile world, has become a universal guide for anyone seeking strength, clarity, and serenity amid the turbulence of life. Key takeaways: virtue over circumstance. Marcus insists again and again that happiness and tranquility arise from inward virtue, not external luck. We may not control what comes our way, but we can always shape our judgments, behaviors, and the meaning we assign to events. Present-mindedness. Every page champions the importance of now. Stop letting regret for what's gone and anxiety for what's yet to come take over your mind. This moment is all you ever truly possess. Be present, act well, and let go of the rest. Emotional mastery. The Stoic does not deny emotion, but brings it under the guidance of reason, whether dealing with anger, fear, desire, or grief. Marcus's meditations show how to acknowledge feelings honestly, question their power, and choose thoughtful responses rather than knee-jerk reactions. Purposeful action. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't waste time on endless reflection about the right thing to do. Act according to reason and principle in service to both yourself and the greater good. Acceptance and letting go. Life will always bring change, loss, and endings. Marcus teaches us to accept what we cannot control and release the rest with dignity, whether it's defeated expectations, aging, or even mortality itself. Community and social duty. No Stoic is an island. Marcus's vision is deeply communal. Our peace and fulfillment are intertwined with the well-being of others, from family to all of humankind. Continuous self-improvement. Philosophy is not about perfection, but about striving. Marcus's openness about his own flaws reminds us real transformation is a project renewed each day, with patience and honesty. Why meditations remains essential. What makes meditations endure is not simply its wisdom, but its example. Marcus invites us to see philosophy not as a lofty abstraction, but as a series of daily practices, morning reminders, midday corrections, evening reflections. His legacy is not that of an untouchable sage, but of a fellow traveler, a human being wrestling with doubt, disappointment, temptation, and hope. Through plagues, wars, routine, and power, Marcus never abandoned the quest for dignity, duty, and inner strength. In doing so, he offered the world a map for living well under any circumstance. So as you step away from this video, whether inspired, skeptical, or simply curious, take one thing forward. The practice of philosophical living is always accessible. You need not be an emperor, a sage, or a scholar. Every day presents another chance to practice attention, kindness, self-mastery, courage, and acceptance. Wherever you are, whatever you face, Marcus reminds you that clarity, strength, and peace are always within reach, not through miracles or chance, but through reason, gratitude, and the daily humble pursuit of goodness. Thank you for joining this journey through meditations. Here's to lives lived thoughtfully, bravely, and well.